Did you know that as human beings with a human brain, we absolutely have no say in whether or not we are programmed? Usually, this is by default. Society, our culture, the media, parents and family, authority figures. But we absolutely do have a say in how we get programmed and what or who we allow to program us once we have this awareness, of course. So, welcome to the second episode of a monthly series I'm calling Positive Programming for Cancer, where you will hear real, true life, inspirational stories of cancer patients who healed themselves against the odds. And the more your brain hears these types of positive success stories, the more you will come to believe and then know that it is possible for you too. That's just how it works. So, hi, I'm Dr. Lisa Matejka, Naturopathic Physician, energy worker, transformational life coach, and I help those on their cancer journey navigate back to health and wellness to an even better state than before by awakening the healing powers within to truly transform not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, energetically, and perhaps even spiritually, with compassionate guidance and loving support that I offer. My stories today come from a documentary called The Source, It's Within You, featuring Dr. Joe Dispenza, his team of researchers, and some amazing stories, yet increasingly normal stories from participants at his events. I encourage you to watch the whole documentary if you wish. For a small donation, it can be yours, and all proceeds go to support the Inner Science Research Fund to keep funding studies on the powerful effects of meditation. So we have Charles, a neurologist who was living in Puerto Rico, and then 2017 came, which was Hurricane Maria, which devastated the island, and then he made his way with his family to Florida. He had always considered himself a healthy person and felt perfectly fine until a sharp pain in the upper back prompted him to get an MRI of the spine, which showed a lesion. After serum protein electrophoresis and bone marrow biopsy, there was a diagnosis of multiple melanoma, also known as plasma cell myeloma, or sometimes just myeloma. And for those of you that don't know, it's basically a cancer of the plasma cells, which is a type of white blood cell. And his tests showed 40% plasma cell involvement, which is not good because in a normal person it's 2 to 4, and his is 40. So he was given the prognosis of 2 to 3 years to live, and that's with chemo. He did the chemo, didn't get a very good response called suboptimal response, a partial response. Then after 5 to 6 months, he did the bone marrow biopsy. But even all that wasn't enough. The cancer did return. He did a 4th line of chemo, but it was getting worse and worse. His cancer markers were going up and up and up. But his wife discovered Dr. Joe Dispenza and basically took him to an event. For those of you that don't know, Dr. Joe's events are largely meditation events. They're for days at a time or a week at a time. And he really gets into how to show people how to really meditate to get beyond themselves, which is where all sorts of magic can happen. So he went to this retreat with no expectations of cure. He just thought it was going to help him meditate. He was a neurologist, after all, very sciencey guy. And he ended up being selected for what's called coherence healing. So there's a part of this event where there'll be a bunch of different groups will splinter off, And somebody, the one that's selected for the coherence healing, like him, will get in the middle and will lie down with a blindfold on and basically receive healing, while a small group, several people, will circle him and will give healing. It's, even though they're not Reiki people, think of it like kind of like that, except there's no touching, no touching. Usually with Reiki, your hands are on the person. This is really just like a distance sort of healing. Well, not really distance because you're right there, but it's essentially energy work that they're calling coherence healing, because the participants are essentially getting into somewhat of a meditative state and sending healing intentions, healing vibrations, sending love, sending the healing through their hands to the participant. Okay? So he got selected to receive this healing. And there were a couple of sessions. The first time he said he didn't feel too much, but he did start to see things. Even with his eyes closed in his mind's eye, he could see like swirls of sand that just so happened to coordinate with the directions that the participants were moving their hands. And as he was leaving the conference room to go back to his hotel, one of the workers at the door, their job was to say to everyone, remember that you are worthy. Remember that you are worthy. And this really hit him emotionally. And that's a really important concept too, because being worthy, you kind of have to feel worthy in order to receive healing. That hit him. He went back to his hotel room. He saw some like colors and things. So it was a little different. Then the next time this coherence healing session occurred, that's when he had more of a breakthrough. He saw a light. He saw a bright light in his mind's eye. And he felt absolute love, bliss, and joy. And tears ran down his face. And the instruments he was hooked up to, like the ECG, the EEG, saw that he was in a gamma state, which is the highest frequency mind state brainwave that you can be in. That's where like monks typically reside. And so there was a definite shift there. And since then, 2 weeks later, he had his checkup with his oncologist. And during those 2 weeks, plus his week at the event, there was he of course wasn't doing any chemo or conventional treatment. So that almost a month of not doing that anyway. 2 weeks later, after this experience, he had his tests, which showed no cancer markers, no evidence of disease. They didn't even want to do a bone marrow biopsy, but he said, no, let's do the bone marrow biopsy just to show proof that this works. So he got the bone marrow biopsy, and there was nothing abnormal, zero, nothing, no evidence of any cancer or any disease. He was completely 100% healed. So how did Charles heal himself? Was it the coherence healing, essentially the energy work he received? Well, it definitely seems like that had something to do with it, but he also had to allow that in. He had his own change of state, which could only happen if he allowed and was receptive. Also, personally, I think it may have helped that he didn't expect anything to come from this. That's a detachment from outcome, which, if you're familiar with things like the law of attraction, that's really important to have that non-attachment to outcome. So yeah, and so these coherence healings have had such a run of success at these events that Dr. Joe and his researcher team decided to take it further and really, really take a look at this. So what they did was they took some of the participants that would do these coherence healings, and they wanted to see what would happen if they did these healings just to cells in a petri dish. These cells have no body, no mind. So would there be a placebo? Could it be considered a placebo effect? So here you can see the top graph is the control cells. So these are normal healthy cells in the top graph. And the bottom graph is the breast cancer cells, specifically MCF7 type. And the blue in both cases are the control group. So they're the cells, whether they're the healthy cells or the breast cancer cells, they're cells that did not receive any healing, just to have a comparison. And then the red line is the cells that did receive a healing from these participants, both in the healthy cells and the breast cancer cells. So not really anything happened with the control cells, and maybe that's because they're already healthy, so they don't need anything. And in the breast cancer cell group, you can see the blue line are the ones that received no healing. So the red are the cells that did receive energy, and you can see there was a decrease. So essentially, what that shows is a drop of energy in cancer cells, making the cancer cells less powerful, less efficient, slowly dying, you could say. So it really helped to make the cancer cells less potent and less able to do damage in the body. You could interpret that way. So it really does have an effect even on cells. And mind you, what's really amazing about this too is these are novices. These aren't experienced energy workers. These are just regular people that were just taught how to do this, So it's very, very promising. So you can do this sort of energy work on yourself. Anyway, that's a separate topic, but I hope you enjoyed that positive, inspirational success story. This is very recent, by the way. This just happened in 2023. And just so you know, I am accepting people into my transformational cancer coaching program. So you can, in the description box, you can find a application to fill out to see if you qualify. I do borrow some stuff from Dr. Joe Dispenza's work to rewire the subconscious mind for healing. There's all sorts of stuff that goes on in this coaching program. It really takes care of the emotional, mental, energetic aspect, which is so key and vital to healing. And if you want to learn more about it, you can check out my profile on heal.me. My website says a little bit more about it. It's raining pretty hard outside, so hopefully the sound isn't too messed up. But thank you all for tuning in to episode 2 of Positive Programming for Cancer. And remember, if they can do it, so can you. Remember that. Much love.